Thank you so much for coming. This is awesome to see as many new faces in this space. Before I go any further, I'm just kind of curious, who hasn't been here before? Wow, a lot of people. We're going to do a very quick go around as well, because part of what the Deanery does is really trying to connect people to each other, and we're all bringing special skills and interests to this space.
We've been developing gardens and things like that at the house, and so with produce coming out of the gardens, I want to be able to put it to more use in the household.
We came here to start a homestead, and then just recently I started a homeschool group, and I hope to pass on all my information and knowledge to them.
I love to bake. I've never made sourdough bread. I make kombucha and got 2 pots or 2 things on the brew right now. But I love mead, but I've never made it. And so that's and the cider. That's what I'm here
for. Just really happy to be here. Kim's been an amazing mentor. She's forcing me to do this. She's been asking me for a couple of years. It's like, no, I can't speak in public. So yeah, I'm shaking to death, but yeah, it'll be good. So fire cider, it goes back a long ways. It is tonic. It's more medicinal. So it's not very palatable. I'll warn you right off the hop. It's not, like an apple cider that you're going to enjoy by the fire. It's like usually take a shot or a teaspoonful. This one I started fermenting January 2nd when we decided on the workshop. So in there, and that will sit for another 3 to 4 weeks. I put in an orange, a lemon, an onion, garlic, thyme, rosemary, peppercorns, the turmeric root, a red pepper, cinnamon sticks, a couple jalapenos, cayenne, horseradish, and then you fill it all up with apple cider vinegar and you just let it do its magic. You have powerhouses all in one jar. Fire cider is known to, we can't claim any medicinal properties, but many of us have used it for many years. It supports the immune system. It promotes blood sugar balance, aids to weight loss. It helps with infection. It's known to reduce inflammation. It really helps with digestion, really changing your gut biome. And all that all together improves your skin and your health. It can be a little expensive to make because when you use organic products, and try and use everything organic, then you don't have any toxins in it. What else did I want to tell you? Sit for 4 to 6 weeks. You can make it as fiery as you want. So if you're a spicy person, you can add more jalapenos or any kind of peppers. It's antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, and antifungal. And that's because you have powerhouses like garlic, ginger, and turmeric root. So Matt, do you want to start? Should we pass from both sides? So it's really a natural preventative medicine. So it's good to take a shot in the morning. You can also add it to juice or water or hot water, like if you can't stand it by itself, because it's very potent with apple cider vinegar. And I make my own apple cider vinegar as well. So then when I heard that Boo Boo's sourdough bread was going to be here, I thought, hey, I always make my own crackers. And so I make it with my sourdough discard and my fire cider. So I thought you guys might like to try that as well. And you can do tons of stuff with fire cider. Use it as a dressing. You add as much honey as you want to the jar. So very simple, just chop everything up and very coarsely. I just leave it all big and chunky. I try and use everything fresh. Like even the turmeric root, which is hard to get around here, but I never peel my turmeric or my ginger. Just wash everything really well. Leave all the rinds on because that's where all your vitamins are, right? It was beautiful on January 2nd. It was so colorful, and now it's been working its way. I use dehydrated thyme and rosemary from my garden. So you can do that. And you can also, you know, if you can find the turmeric root, if you dehydrate it, so you can use it later on down the road.
So when you leave this for 4 to 6 weeks, is it the same thing in a dark location?
I just leave mine on the counter, but yeah. Or just put a dish towel over it on the counter is what I do. Try and give it a shake every once in a while, keep the energy moving in there. And I didn't on this yet, but I usually put a piece of wax paper hanging out under the lid, because the metal will tend to deteriorate with the acidity of the vinegar. After 4 to 6 weeks, you can kind of tell by taste and, you know, however fast you need it. If you're feeling ill or, you know, you need that booster, then I strain it. And I tend to still use the onion and garlic out of it, and the ginger. It's really nice to eat. Yeah, yeah. I've used it in stir fries and in salsa. So I don't throw it all away. Like the citrus, the lemon and the orange, I tend to compost. But lots of the other, I try and find other uses for it. And then I add honey to it, the liquid honey, just, on preference. I've never really measured. I just like stir it in and taste it, and it's like, oh, needs a little bit more honey. I don't sell it. Oh, okay. No, it's just my own home brew, but I will tell you, I have seen little bottles of like not even, what were they? 4 or 6 ounces was like $45.
This is something that you can actually take ongoing all the time as a preventative, especially during cold season.
Yeah, I'm like, we don't drink it much during the summer.
Because we have the fresh fruits and vegetables that you can have.
Yeah.
But during the fall and going into the winter, it's something that we consume more of at that time.
Yeah.
So usually Shona will start one in the spring, so it's ready to go beginning of the fall.
It was actually invented by Rosemary Gladstar, and a big corporation tried to take over the name Fire Cider so that nobody could use it. So all herbologists could not say that they were using Fire Cider. And Rosemary Gladstar and a couple other herbologists actually took them to court, and they won. Last year, it took them 5 years, but they won, and it was like a huge, benefit for herbologists and wildcrafters. And what I found really interesting is Connor's got on his sheet an oxymel, and I make oxymels all the time with all my forage. I make them with rose hips, rose petals, the wild blueberries. So all I've done with the oxymel is the smaller jars. I fill it, I'm making a blueberry oxymel that I want for the winter months, and I fill it half full of apple cider vinegar and half full of honey. And it just ferments, and I've had them like 2 years later. Yeah. And they're great. It's like, wow. So I'll do that like in the spring. I'll pick like all my spruce tips or fir tips and make an oxymel out of them. Or pick the baby little tiny yarrow and plantain just as they're just coming up and make a spring oxymel. And then, by now, January, February, March, your body's just craving that, right? And they've lasted a couple years. Just a shot of it. Usually it's full of fruit, so we just eat it. But I do fermented goldenrod oxymel. Yeah, it's plentiful around here. And I do like a fermented fireweed tea. So in the spring, just when before it actually blossoms. So you got to know your patch and watch before it blooms, because you want the leaves nice and young. Otherwise, all the energy is going into the blossom, right? So as it's moving up in the spring, and you just take the leaves and roll them up and let them sit out for about 24 hours and let them ferment a little bit, and then, or like kind of wilt. And then put them in a jar and close that up for a few weeks and let that ferment. And then you lay it all out and let it dry really, really well. And we're actually drinking that right now. Has anybody tried any kind of fermenting? Or because you can do it as easily as filling a jar with fresh chopped up garlic and fill it with honey. Right. And just leave that on your counter, and whenever you need a spoonful or a boost in the wintertime. I do a ginger and a turmeric root one as well, just in honey. And dehydrating, I mean, you can dehydrate and drink. I call it drinking the forest. Like, I don't even buy tea. We just drink spruce boughs and pine needles, and we have Labrador tea here in Nova Scotia that you can find. Rose petals, rose hips, like it's phenomenal. Like the vitamin C in a rose hip is just amazing. Nothing you'll buy in the store. So very medicinal, very easy, self-sustainable, but don't ever choose anything alongside the road.
I've never been to the Deanery before, but I thought the presentations were rather interactive and very informative, and it was a great opportunity for people to develop skills they might not have had a chance to before.
I have been a nature and outdoor educator for over 20 years, and I've been to the Deanery many times, and by far this has been the best workshop I've ever been to. Every instructor has said that they're brand new at instructing, but were able to deliver information in a way that was accessible for anyone that falls under the neurodivergent scale of learning. So there was hands-on, there was notes, there was lots of questions, there was opportunities to take your own notes and to take your own photos, so that you really built your confidence through these instructors before you leave. And there was even samples to take home. I've never been to a workshop that was as well pulled together with just energy and positiveness and just the desire to share knowledge as this one. So super grateful for today.